For this next exercise, we're going to cheat a little bit. So you have noticed probably that this next exercise is really similar to the previous one, the difference being that this time we want to actually count the uppercase letters in an array of characters as opposed to in a string. So we are going to start with the version that we wrote in the previous exercise, which is a version working on string, and we're going to modify it a little bit. So to save us time, I'm going to replace the main by actually this, which is pretty much, a simplified version here. I'm calling a method count, so let's change the name here to count. This method count is passed a new character array that is built on the fly and that is initialized with those letters. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply convert my code from operating on strings to operating on char arrays. And I'm going to keep calling that str just because it really doesn't matter much. Okay, but I'm going to rename the method count here, and I'm going to pass the same character array, and I'm going to take the length of the character array, just like I did the length of the string, except that here it's not a method, okay, it's an attribute. So length is an attribute here on the array named str, okay. Remember that on strings dot length you call the method length, on arrays dot length without parentheses you are looking up the attribute. So common source of mistake when you don't program in Java for a little while. So you forget that kind of stuff very easily. So I'm going to modify the recursive version the same way. So now it's operating on a char array, and let me see, the logic here is always the same, no problem. And the logic here, well, I still need to change the name, so that's going to be count. The recursive code is the same, works the same way, right? We are still calling ourselves on the whole array, but we are considering a subset of that array, and we keep track of where we are in the array with that index. We still use character class dot is uppercase, okay? It's just that now it's a little bit easier for us to find the character at index high in the character array, okay? And then always 1 and 0 here. That doesn't need to change, okay? So pretty much the logic is the same. It's really almost an aesthetic modification. So let's see if we got that right. Well, of course we didn't. So it's the count name here is not really, there we go. And that is why, by the way, development environment, integrated development environment IDEs are going to allow you to right-click on a variable or a method, and they are going to have generally a refactor menu that contains plenty of nifty things such as, among the easiest of them, rename this variable or rename this method, and the IDE is going to take care of going through your entire code and make those renaming operation for you, which is pretty much error-proof, as opposed to even in a code that has only, let's say 21 lines, you can easily overlook, especially when you are trying to talk at the same time, you can easily overlook, one of the substitution, and then you have to deal with it at compilation time. So that's it for that. So we have compilation. Let's try to see what we have here. So we have a 2 being displayed. We have a E and a W that are uppercase. Yes, that's actually working. We should test more, obviously, but since we are basing everything here on the previous code, really the only thing that we could mess up are the things that I mess up, like the count, renaming or something like that. But anything else in the logic of the code is absolutely the same and remained unchanged from the previous exercise. So there we are.